Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Forbes contributor and host of the Career Strategy podcast, Sarah Duty. Sarah, thanks for coming on.
Hi, Brittany. Good to be with you.
You're an expert in how to market yourself and everything when it comes to the job search, so I'm really excited about our conversation today. Let's say you're laid off, or let's say you're just looking for a new job. How do you go about announcing to your LinkedIn network you're open to work?
To announce to your LinkedIn network that you are open to work, you can use LinkedIn's feature called Open to Work, which does a couple of things. First of all, it adds a little kind of green banner or highlight to your profile image with the hashtag Open to Work. And also, it will allow you to post what's called an Open to Work post. Now, if you don't customize that, it's not going to be very useful. It's going to be quite generic. So the key here is to customize that open to work post when you turn on open to work on your LinkedIn profile.
We'll get into how to customize it to your advantage in a moment, but what are some maybe not so good posts of these that you've seen?
Yeah, so like I said, if you don't customize it, it's going to post a very generic style of post, which I'm paraphrasing, but basically says, hey everyone, I'm looking for a new job. I'd appreciate any connections and introductions you might have for me. And if someone's reading that, the problem with that is that it doesn't give the specifics of your situation, meaning what exactly do you do? What are you looking for, etc. And I don't know about you, but when I see these style of posts, I kind of just keep scrolling because I know they are going to be all pretty much saying the same generic thing.
I keep scrolling as well. So what are some good strategies that you can tell us how to do that makes people maybe not scroll, give your post a read and help you out?
Yeah, so when you're writing your customized open to work post, you really want to try and have it achieve three things. First of all, you want to remind people what specifically you do. Just because you're connected to people on LinkedIn, it doesn't necessarily mean that they remember what you do. So the first part should be to let people know what you do specifically, and it's not just your job title. It could also kind of go a little deeper and remind people of what industries you might have experience in or how many years of experience you have. You can, almost think of this like a very mini bio that might be at the top of your resume, for example. And then after you remind people of what you do, the next key is to tell them exactly what you are looking for. Just saying, I'm looking for new opportunities doesn't tell me anything about what you hope to do in the future. So when you're writing this section about what you're looking for, you could include specific job titles, sizes of companies, even specific company names. You could even include different industries you're interested in. And then that is going to help the people reading this post really kind of connect the dots next time they maybe see a job posting or hear about an opportunity that actually aligns what you are looking for. And then after you remind people what you do, tell them what you're looking for, the last thing that you can include, which may be optional depending on if this applies to you, but you can include some deal breaker criteria. So for example, today, working remotely might be a deal breaker for a lot of people. And if that's true for you, then you would want to post that. And one analogy that I use quite often is the idea of, looking for a house or looking for a partner. If you just tell people, hey, I'm looking for a house in this neighborhood, you will probably not get the types of houses you're looking for. Or if you say I'm looking for a partner but give no criteria, you're going to get either a lot of matches that are not aligned with what you're looking for, or people just won't help you out because it's too much work for them to try and figure out what you are looking for. So that's how people can use that open to work feature to really help hone in what they're looking for and really help their connections help them.
Sure. And I know you want people to be specific, but is there ever a time where people might be too specific, where they might be cutting off an opportunity that they don't even know that they want?
That's a really great point. And I'm sure many times in our careers or people we know, you've ended up in a situation or a role which was not even on your radar. I know it's happened to me. So I think there is not necessarily a risk that you're omitting opportunities. I think those opportunities that maybe weren't on your radar, it's going to come because someone read your experience and what you're looking for, and they themselves kind of connected the dots and thought, even though Brittany said she's looking for X, Y, and Z, based on that, I think this role might be interesting. So it kind of goes to that first part about reminding people what you do and your experience. But without doing this, I think you're not going to be able to leverage your LinkedIn network because people just won't have a clue what to look for. And let's face it, everyone is super busy. And most of the people who see your post that says, I'm looking for new opportunities, are not going to take the time to go to your full LinkedIn profile and study it and kind of extract and decipher what opportunities they should be looking for. So you have to do a little legwork to help people help you in your job search.
Of course, and to your point, there might be a post that's too long for people to read if you include everything from your first job when you were 14 to now. But if you're not writing enough, you run the risk of being too vague. So what is the correct length of these types of posts?
Yeah, so I like to often pretend I'm writing in tweets because tweets force us to adhere to a certain character limit. And I'm not going to give a specific number of characters here, but I think if you think of each of those three sections, the reminding people what you do, articulating what you're looking for, and knowing your deal breakers, if you could get each of those into the length of 1 or 1.5 tweets, I think that would be a good length to aim for. And another little formatting tip for people is that use each of those sections as kind of an independent paragraph. So make sure you have a space in between each of those. Otherwise, this post is going to just look like what I often refer to as a giant wall of text. And when people see, 20 lines of text with no spaces in between paragraphs, their eyes just kind of stress out and they go into overwhelm and they're probably not going to read it. But if you separate each section into little paragraphs, or sometimes I refer to it as little chunks of text, makes it a lot easier for people to consume.
I do want to get into the last component of this post, and those are deal breakers. Can you give us an example of how to politely yet firmly post your deal breaker?
Yeah, so let's say you are only looking for jobs that are remote or in a couple of different cities. At the end of this open to work post, you could just say something like, at this time, I'm only looking for full-time remote roles or in-person opportunities in San Diego and Chicago. That's a simple, short, and very concise way to communicate that. But if you don't do that, then you may be inundated with opportunities that don't fit that criteria. And let's face it, in your job search, time is really critical, and you don't want to be wasting time trying to field messages or opportunities that might not fit what you're looking for.
Sarah, and aside from customizing the open to work feature on LinkedIn, how else can job seekers use LinkedIn more strategically?
Yeah, so a couple of things that you could do would be to try and activate your existing connections on LinkedIn. And what that means is, instead of just posting a post on your LinkedIn profile that goes out to everyone, try and think about the people that you're connected to that you have pretty authentic relationships with. And to kind of define what that means, I define that as if you were to show up in their LinkedIn inbox and they would actually recognize your name and have an inkling of who you are and what you do, maybe remember the last time you interacted or how you met, those types of people would be really great to send a private message to on LinkedIn. And the good news is, if you write this open to work post, you can use that as part of what you might send these people as a one-on-one message. Now, what you could add to that one-on-one message, so it doesn't come across as just a template that you've cut and pasted to 50 people, try and, at the beginning of that message, include what I call an anchor, meaning like a reminder of how you met or the last time you had a conversation, just to humanize that message. And like I said, make it feel less like something that you cut and pasted to a bunch of people, and remind them of any similarities or interactions you've had in the past.
Using your network is obviously key. And Sarah, we've seen in headlines, there's been layoffs recently, especially in the tech industry. And the beginning of the year is really a good time where people are job searching. What is your one biggest piece of advice for people who are on the hunt for a new opportunity?
So for people who are looking for jobs right now, I think the most important thing you can do is to leverage and activate relationships that you currently have, or seek to foster relationships with people who are working at the companies that you want to work at. A study from the US Department of Labor and Statistics said that 85% of jobs are either found or filled through your network. And so by leveraging LinkedIn, you can really do that. And another thing you can do on LinkedIn, which I think is somewhat underutilized, is the power of LinkedIn groups or communities. Because when you post a single post inside one of those groups, it's being seen by a lot of people. So it's a leverage of your time. You could send one-on-one messages to a bunch of people, but if you're in a group or community on LinkedIn that is very specific to your industry or niche, you are more likely to get responses than if you are maybe just emailing or messaging 50 people, let's say, on LinkedIn. And even in those groups, sometimes it just might be about bringing awareness for you to opportunities, like you said, Brittany, that maybe you didn't even know existed. So you could post something like your open to work post, but say, I'm looking for new opportunities. If your team is hiring, or if you've recently been hired, I'd love to connect, or something like that.
I appreciate your insights, and I know that they'll be helpful to all those on the hunt for a new job. Sarah Doody, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.